Bare necessity, but simple bare necessity. Bare necessity, but simple bare necessity.
Hey there, it's Bree Bear and welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to be doing a wrap-up. This is going to be different from my previous year of wrapping up things because this year with the Avengers Initiative Reading Challenge, I have decided to do my wrap-ups based on character boards. So if you don't know what I'm talking about when I say the Avengers Initiative Reading Challenge or character boards, then check out the link below. There is an announcement video and that kind of gives you all of the details. For this wrap-up, I'm going to be discussing two character boards, Black Widow and Hulk. Natasha Romanoff is one of my all-time favorite characters, and this is her board. I love her so incredibly much. So I knew that I had to do her board as soon as possible. And she was the first board I completed as well. Let's go ahead and get into what books I read for each of the prompts. The first book I would like to talk about is The Little Prince by Anton de Sant-Exuberi. This completes the prompt to read a translated work. This was originally written in French and I read the English version. Could have read it in French, but I had the English version and that makes it translated since I read it in a different language than it was originally written. So I will go back and read it in French as well, but for the prompt, this is what worked. So I don't have a ton of thoughts on this because this is a children's book, so there's not a whole ton I can say about it other than the fact that it has some incredible, like each chapter is like a message and really tells you a lot of things. It's about a little boy who meets someone in the desert, and someone that he meets in the desert tells him all of these stories and all of these tales about his life and his adventures and things that he's learned. And each one of those little stories has like a hidden meaning to it, or not so hidden in some cases. Some of them are a little bit more obvious. But it was really good. I rated it 5 stars, although I don't think my love for it is 5 stars yet. I think the more that I read it, it will feel 5 stars as I continue to reread this in the future so that I can unpack even more of it. So my level of appreciation is 5 stars, but my, I'm not in love with it quite yet. But I believe I probably will be. The next book that I completed was Romanov by Nadine Brandeis, or Brandeis. Again, I didn't check pronunciations this time around. But this completes 3 of our prompts. It completes set in Eastern Europe, a black cover, and has a redemption arc. This is a historical fiction with a flair of magic. It follows Anastasia Romanov as her family is exiled and she is tasked with the mission of trying to smuggle a magical object from one place to another and keep it hidden through their exile until the magic can be used when it is ready to be released and help them in their desire to just be free and safe. That's all I really want. I read from my notes what my archetype list is. Siblings, especially a brother-sister relationship, is very strong between Alexei and Anastasia. Their relationship is pretty strongly portrayed. Secrets, speaking in code. Dogs, there are a couple dogs in here. It's great. Putting on a play. Exile, locked in, quarantine-ish feel. Military, Russia, war, revolution, captive or captivity, regret, betrayal, local self-trained healer, nesting dolls as well. So those are some of the archetypes you can expect in this book. You can also see representation for hemophilia, faith, or a belief system of some kind, a vegetarian, orphans, and indigenous, specifically semi-nomadic Siberian indigenous peoples. So as far as dislikes go, honestly, there were just a couple of little things. There was one line that I deemed problematic enough to mark, but Otherwise, there were no problematic elements per se. There were just a few little things here and there that I wasn't a huge fan of necessarily, but overall, this was really, really good. I was really tempted to go ahead and give it 5 stars, but I decided to round it down. But I could end up rounding it up later on if I, change my mind about that. Because it was really good. The historical elements were really good. It really focuses in on the relationship between the Romanov family and the Bolshevik soldiers that were charged with keeping them trapped in their exile. So it really focuses on elements within that which seemed and felt extremely well researched. The author's note at the back really gives you a lot of information on where her ideas kind of came from, where she, where her direction came from, which I really appreciated the direction that she chose versus the direction that I anticipated. I feel like it gave it its own unique flavor, and this would have not been as enjoyable had it been, the movie Anastasia, just in book format and changed a little bit, which is what I was kind of thinking was going to end up happening, but it definitely was not that, and I'm kind of really glad that it was completely different than what I anticipated going into it. It's a very quiet book, despite the story being intense. Like the storyline itself and like the part of history it deals with is kind of intense, but the story is actually, very quiet in the way it's told. It's very interesting, but very good. And I definitely recommend it. I ended up rating it 4 stars, but it's kind of on the possible could get bumped up to a 5 eventually type of 4. Like, it was very conflicting whether I wanted to do 4 or 5. So if that gives you any indication. Next up we have Legend Born by Tracy, Dion. This was the group book for January, so you will see it on several different boards throughout my wrap-ups. This completes the prompt female empowerment, or about female empowerment, and a character with a secret identity. This book follows Bree, who recently lost her mother. She goes to an early college program where she starts her college career early, and ends up getting swept up in an Arthurian secret society on campus. As she begins to discover more about this secret society that has some very interesting magical elements, she also discovers more about her mother and her mother's past, and realizes that there may have been more to her mother's death than she originally thought. Let's talk about some archetypes. University, cliff jumping, small town, the South, old money, secret societies, the chosen one, competitions and trials, legacies, rejected legacies as well, mysteries surrounding a death or a loss, Salem witch trials for like a second, not very long, auras, memory magic, hate to love-ish, possible. It's not confirmed, but it could be. A scavenger hunt, the broken bad boy vibes, the secret tunnels vibes, the contact with the dead through magic. We have training, we have a dream sequence. We have a ton of representation in this for LGBTQ, lots of racial representation as well, interracial relationships, some mental illness representation, as well as some religious representations. Lots of things. So definitely check out my review on Goodreads for the details of that. Reviews on Goodreads for trigger warnings and all of that, themes, in-depth thoughts will all be there. Trying to keep this as like an overview of my review with the main points, and then send you there for the details. So, the main thing I disliked about it was that the beginning felt a lot like City of Bones, and like almost to the point of it being frustrating, and I was almost like, I'm gonna hate this because it's just a new version of City of Bones. But then as we got through the book, like later on, it really took on its own thing and swept me up in it. It was so much better once we got past the elements that were so typical and so similar, because it's about a character who, you know, didn't know they had magic, and then they find out that there's this whole magical world, and then they discover their own abilities, and they discover this, and you know, and there's the boy, and there's the line is law thing, which all of those elements really just added up to make me feel like not so great. But then we get later in the book and it takes on its own story and it develops itself in its own way. And I really enjoyed that element and aspect of it. Honestly, if I were to do half stars, this is probably like a 4.5, but I do round it to a 4 personally, because I think that as we go through the series, I will enjoy them more. I do plan on continuing with this series, but with this first book, because there was enough that was not quite on par with my preference in regards to how it dealt with the tropes at the beginning. It felt very tropey instead of archetypey because of how like patterned it felt. However, all in all, it felt very well written, especially for a debut novel. She's definitely written more than just this book, and this is just the first one that I think she's fully published, or at least the first that she's traditionally published. But she's an amazing writer. She's got a lot of skill and talent, and I expect great things from this author because I think she has a very good, like, if this is where she's starting her writing career, then she's gonna blow it out of the water. I'm just saying, I have great expectations for this author. Yeah, next book and last book for Black Widow's board is Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Lanny Taylor. What? So this book completes about someone trying to escape their past. Let's see. And about an assassin, which I thought it was like about an assassin main character. It's not really, but I'm gonna count it because the definition of assassin is someone who kills or murders, assassinates a public figure, a political figure, like assassinate somebody for political or social gain. So I'm gonna count it because you don't have to be an assassin by trade to be an assassin. So it counts, okay? Okay. So Daughter of Smoke and Bone is about Karu, our main character, who is raised in elsewhere but is a part of our world as well. And so she lives her daily life, goes to school, but she also has to sneak away on these secret errands, is what she calls them, to do things to do with elsewhere, for her mentor Brimstone and like kind of caretaker, the guy that took her in. Okay, she's going through life and everything is fine until one day something crazy happens, an angel shows up, the portals become closed, and she's no longer able to get to elsewhere. So she can't even contact Brimstone or the people that raised her, so she has no idea what's going on, no idea what to do, and she has to try to figure out how to get back to them and open the doors and get through to the people that raised her and figure out what's going on. And yeah, it's kind of hard to explain this plot. We're gonna go with that. Archetypes include an artist, street actor, tattoos, colored hair, particularly blue, wishes, like the magic system is based on wishes, a linguist, although she is magically turned into a linguist, wishbones, portal magic, traveling Prague, it is set in Prague mostly, angels, palsy, there are 2 moons in Elsewhere, which I love. Cross-species beings, unanswered questions, or like questions that may not be answered ever type thing. Platonic friendship, inheritance, marionette, love at first sight-ish vibes, dream sequences, near-death experiences, miscommunication / lack of communication, a ball, line dances, that kind of thing. So lots of different things. Let's see. Representation. We have orphan and mental illness. That's kind of it. So this book. One thing I definitely can say is that due to the time that this was written, it kind of feels not as good as Lanny's more recent writing, simply for the fact that I think part of it has to do with the expectations, the style of writing that we had in this era of YA versus her newer era of YA. Like, it's just not quite there in terms of plot and characters, but the biggest issues I have are to do with blaring writing issues. Unresearched elements, particularly to do with the dance elements. This friend of Karu's performs this dance, and she gets her this vintage costume and these vintage point shoes, which we're not given any indication that this character has ever danced before or is a performer, a dancer by trade or by training at all. So we have no indication that she has ever been trained to dance. And then she puts on these vintage point shoes and performs in them, and that's not possible. You don't just throw on an old pair of point shoes that were somebody else's, that have molded to somebody else's feet, that are probably actually dead point shoes because they have probably been worn out. If they were vintage point shoes if they were from a professional dancer, then they would have been worn in to the point of being worn out. They would be dead point shoes, and you can't perform in dead point shoes, especially somebody else's dead point shoes. Like, that just doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. So that really bothered me. As a performer, as a dancer, I trained since the age I was 3. I was a choreographer and teacher. It doesn't work that way, okay? It bothered me, okay? Another thing is there were some plot errors and holes that didn't really make sense. Like, it suggested things, but then if that was something you could suggest, then it wouldn't make sense that she couldn't fix the problem. I don't know. There were a couple of things like that. Things I did like, though, were the settings. Let's see, what else? The pacing, great. Lanny's writing in general, you can't go wrong. A lot of, despite the fact that this is older and it's not as good, in my opinion, as Strange the Dreamer, at least in this first book, it still is Lanny Taylor's writing, and it's still good. There are some pretty quotes, some really cool concepts and ideas, very creative aspects. I don't know why, but she has this thing with moths. There are moths in this, and there are moths in that, and I wonder why she loves moths so much. I know that's random, but it's just something I noticed. If you're wondering, this is the UK cover. Much nicer than the US, in my opinion, so that's what I get. Yeah, let's go ahead and move on because I've already been sitting here and talking for a minute, I believe. So let's keep going. Round out everything for Black Widow's board, the center prompt was to research immigration issues in your area, which I did. I read some articles and learned some really cool things about my area that actually Tennessee is trying, and that's pretty cool. I found some things that were positive that I wasn't anticipating seeing, and I really got excited by that. So love that for me. So all in all, I completed Black Widow's board with 4 books and some articles for the center prompt. The next board I would like to talk about is Hulk. First book I'm going to mention is Legendborn again, because I did use this for a few different prompts on Hulk's board. I used this for read a big book, a book about transformation. Yeah, that's it. Read a big book and a book about transformation. So I've already talked about this. So we're gonna go ahead and flip on over to the next book. The next book I'm going to talk about is Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. I could be saying his last name entirely wrong. So, I used this book for green on the cover and a book about an insecure character. Wow, what an experience this book was. This book was a huge adventure. But I actually am doing a whole video on reading Perks of Being a Wallflower for the first time, which I plan on posting hopefully as my next video. Hopefully that goes well, that I can get everything finished up for it soon. In the case that I can do that, then you'll see this soon. And I won't, go into depth here so that you'll go watch that video. The next book is The Tale of Despero by Kate Dicamillo. This was read for the A Comfort Book prompt. This was a reread for me and my first reread of the year. It's an amazing book. I talked about it in a vlog, so I will link you to that. Actually, I have 2 videos about it. I have the vlog and I used it for one of the boss battle videos. So I'm going to link you to both of those because combined you will get a good view of both the book in general and also my personal thoughts. The last book that I have to talk about is Slay by Brittany Morris. This was our group book for February, and this was used for Hulk's board to complete Explores Friendship and Science, Will Make You Angry, and An Expert or Genius. This book follows Kira, who created an online game called Slay, and it is something that she did anonymously, so nobody knows who she is, and it's all about Black community and Black joy, and it's kind of a Black exclusive game. So when somebody is killed due to something to do with this game, things get a little crazy and people start calling the game racist and anti-white, and things begin to get a little bit overwhelming for Kira because she didn't intend anything to be that way, and all she wanted to do was have a safe place where she and people like her could celebrate their Blackness. It's overwhelming how amazing this book is. Archetypes in this book include gamers, pop culture, siblings, specifically sisters, outspoken characters, Greek life, private school. This book actually starts with the main character being in a relationship. Bellevue, Washington, secrets, virtual reality, secret codes, a happy family, college acceptance, college choice, specifically Ivy League, tea, France, China for part of it. Yeah. And this book, it has a lot of representation in it. LGBT, a little bit of LGBTQ, a lot of BIPOC representation, some non-binary, visually impaired with the glasses situation, absent father figure, we have a Christian family, we have a closeted trans character, so we got a lot going on, and this covers a lot of controversial topics, so I am going to point that out because that is like keystones of the story. feminism, pro-black versus anti-white, gatekeeping, things that I disliked. There were some errors, like writing errors, just a few, and I also feel like that the beginning and the end of this were a bit drug out. Pacing wise, the beginning was a little bit slow. Like the whole first chapter was 40 pages, and then the chapters are a lot shorter for the rest of it. The resolution at the end felt very drug out to me. Otherwise, I can't really think of very many complaints that I wrote out in my review that I just wrote a few minutes ago. So yeah, it addresses things so incredibly well. You get so many different perspectives on the issues that are addressed in the story, and it's done in a way that isn't saying that one perspective is wholly right or one is wholly wrong, but that it's, I don't know, it just covers so much, and it's just so daggum good. And I gave it 5 stars, and go read it and go watch our live show about it after you read it. Okay, it's linked down below. I don't even have anything else to say. If you want my detailed thoughts, go to Goodreads, because I don't have details right now. I just can't detail at this moment. It's just, my brain is mush and this book is good. That is it. That is all I have. For the center prompt for Hulk, it was to try yoga or meditation. I have already tried both of them, so I used to do both more regularly, but I don't right now. So I decided to take some time out and actually do some yoga for a while, because it's been a hot minute since I've actually taken some time out to do it. So I did a nice, very refreshing yoga session, and it was a great time. I just did what felt right. At the moment, I didn't, plan a yoga flow. I just kind of did what the flow did, and it was a great time. So this is my completed board for Hulk. It was a great time. For Hulk's board, I used 4 books in total. 2 were group books, 2 were not group books. For Black Widow's board, 3 were not group books, 1 was a group book. Yeah, that is it. I did not use any rewards for either of these 2 boards, but I did attain some rewards by reading these boards, or by completing these boards. Again, make sure you check out the links down below for all of the in-depth conversations on books that I didn't talk about yet in this video, that I said I would just link you to more in-depth chats about them, or for, the actual challenge itself, links, all of that stuff. It's down in the description. Just go read the description, click on the links, and just watch. It'll be great. It'll be a good time. Just do it. So that is all I have to say for the Black Widow and Hulk boards. I am very excited to continue on this journey of wrapping up my character boards, telling you guys my thoughts on the books that I've read so far, and getting more characters on my team. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day or night, whatever time it is for you. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and that notification bell and join the Bear Scouts. I will see you soon with another video. Peace out, Bear Scouts.
Look for the bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your stress. I mean the bare necessities. That's why a bear can rest at ease with just the bare necessities of life. Yeah, with just the bare necessities of life.